What's up, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Q&A. For our first question, Elliot Finn asks what's on everyone's minds. Where is Kino? Is he safe? Is he all right?
I thought it would be fun to do a little speculating on what we think happened to him after he announced that he couldn't swim and he broke the world's heart. That gutted me.
I hate it.
I hate it and I love it.
Thanks, I hate it.
It's such a good moment. It's so powerful. He was left behind. Someone could have helped him. I know symbolically, like, they wanted him to stay behind. I get it for story purposes. Someone could have helped him. I'm sure Cassian and Melshi would have if they weren't, like, thrown over the side. But what do you think happened to him?
So, I will say, I just listened to the round table interviews that you did with a bunch of other amazing podcasters. And one of the questions that came up was, did they want to go with Andy Serkis, like, right off the bat? Did they write the character around him? Which was, no, not true. But then they also asked if they knew he wasn't going to be able to swim from the very beginning. And that just kind of came up naturally within the writer's room. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
They're really testing us.
I think that was Tatooine Sons that asked that question. And yeah, it was just they were figuring out the story kind of as we did, where in our reaction, Molly goes like, what is the way out? Like, are they going to find a ship or what? And then it's like, oh, they're just going to swim away. So that was kind of them going, should there be a ship? What do we do? It's like, well, they just get back to the free air and I guess they swim. And then they go like, oh, what if Kino can't swim? You know, like, whoever did that, shame on you, but also good job. Like, It was very impactful.
Yeah, they talk about...
I think Bo Williman was the writer of this episode.
Such good work. They talk about how the theme of this episode is all about sacrifice, and, like, he needed to sacrifice something big, or, like, there needed to be a parallel of sacrifice for Kino specifically. Which I'm sure we'll go into a lot more in our stream tonight. But anyways, I think he's fine. I think he found some floaties, and he's fine.
Yeah. I hope that he got out. I don't think we're ever going to know. I don't think we should, because I love the parallel of that sacrifice, which Luthen talks about, which Cassian eventually sacrifices himself for a sunrise he'll never get to see. Like, all of that writing worked together so beautifully. I kind of hope he goes back in and, like, just John Wicks the rest of the Imperials. He just takes over the prison and he lives there.
This is my house now.
Like, I assumed the Empire would come eventually. There is something interesting. I threw out the idea that the prison could be like Sky Strike Academy or the Colossus, like a ship that can land in water and stay there. And Andy Serkis in an interview called Narkina 5 a prison ship, or not the planet, but he called their prison a prison ship. So maybe he goes back in and he's like, I can't swim, but I can fly. And he just takes off and flies into the sunset.
I had a similar thought, but, like, when he says ship, I assume something like a submarine. So like you said, he could go in and just take everyone with him. And, like, they cut all the power, and they mentioned, like, it will take months to come back on, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe there's a way to sink the whole thing.
Oh, my gosh. No, I would, like...
Sink it.
No,
sink it.
Fly it.
He finds a way
Survive.
to get off. He finds a way to get off, like, right at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
But he sinks
He makes a raft out of the orange rubber shoes. I'm sure they float, and then he gets to safety.
Yeah. Or he comes riding on shore on a giant water beast. I can't think of a good one right now. And he's got one of those poker zappy sticks.
A zap stick.
He's like, yeah, take me to shore. I don't know.
Somehow, Kino Loy survived.
Yeah.
I will say, because I know people are making jokes about it, but no Snoke. He's not... No, there's no Snoke relation ever.
I mean, yeah, jokes are fine, but...
Most people are joking, but come on. Are we still doing those in the year 2022?
No. Yunners wants to know if the prison escape went as we expected.
Only in the sense that Cassian got out. I think that was basically it. I was like, there's gonna be a riot, they're going to escape. I think that was the only thing I was right about.
I think it went pretty much how I expected it to go. The only thing I was expecting that didn't happen was for them to like steal the boots, but then there was a way around that because they used the water to short circuit the whole thing. And then I wasn't sure, how they were going to get off and away. And that just turned out to be, you jump and you swim.
Yeah.
But I like this question because it reminds me of the Aldani job, and that did not go how we expected at all. It was kind of messy. Like, they just, like, ran in there, waving their guns around and stuff like that. Like, this was a solid plan, and they all worked together on, like, it was well executed.
Right. I think the biggest thing I was wrong about was that Cassian was not, in charge. I kind of thought that the last arc was about him learning to work with a team, and now this one would be about him leading a team. And it kind of was. They did it in a better way than I would have done it. They did it in such a way that it was like he was inspiring Kino. Like, I love that moment when Kino is delivering the speech and he's using Cassian's words and he's looking Cassian in the eye as if he's like, this is how you inspired me. So this like train of inspiration. I really love that. Like everything that I got wrong is fine because they did it way better, I think.
And I think Cassian is, maybe he was the one, I can't remember exactly, but to tell Melshi, like, don't worry about staying here, go tell others, go tell the others. And he like goes to the other level or the other room and like switches the doors open, and and that kind of trickles along the way to the others kind of like going and being like, we're free, let's go.
Yeah.
And that's great.
I love I can't remember his name, but the guy that runs in and just yells, "One way out, fight!" And everyone's like, what? But then the elevator starts coming down and they're like, yeah. But yeah, it was a little chaotic, I guess, but it had to be. And yeah, it was just an unguessable sequence of events, I think. And every surprise, I just loved it more and more.
Harrison Edgar wants to know if we think any of the Acolytes cast will be alien or droid.
So we were shown 9 people who are officially part of the cast. And, that is an interesting question just because a lot of people have been. I think the main constructive piece of criticism I've seen for Andor is that the aliens are very relegated to the background. Like we saw some in episode 10, but just kind of as the camera went by them in the Coruscant underground. I think there are reasons to explain all of that, but I miss having more pulpy, goofy stuff. I think that even if it's not one of those 9 people, like, I don't think you cast Carrie Ann Moss and then she's just like in a droid outfit. I don't see that.
They did that with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and that turned out pretty great.
Oh yeah, it can work, but Carrie Ann Moss is Trinity. Like, I just I think that she will have a larger role. I don't know. No one in that made me think that they would be in some heavy prosthetics. Like, they could always be a Twi'lek or something where you still see their face, Togruta, what have you. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say. Like, more likely it will be a very humanoid species of alien if it is going to be one of the main cast. Just because I know what's the character's Jason in The Good Place.
Oh yeah, Manny Jacinto.
Yeah, just because I know him from The Good Place, he could make a funny droid because
yeah, that's true.
He's great with humor, but I would also like to see him in a different role.
I do think he would make a great comedic alien sidekick. But I also hope that he gets to stretch his dramatic chops a little bit. Like, love him in The Good Place, but he is the dumbest human being on the planet. And so I want to see him not have to be like the butt of every joke.
Right. And I'm thinking of like shows like Obi-Wan, who also didn't really have a lot of alien characters, but they did have the Grand Inquisitor.
Mm-hmm.
And
Grand Inquisitor, fifth brother, the fourth sister.
yeah. Fourth sister didn't have a lot to do,
she was
but
barely there.
she did look great. Grand Inquisitor got a lot of flack for how he looked, so I'm wondering if that is causing them to say, you know what, maybe we don't use the alien species that often, which would be tragic, but like it's possible.
I don't think so. Also, the Grand Inquisitor, I think, in the end looked better than he took some getting used to, I admit, but I don't know. I would really like to see one of the main characters be an alien. I do think that would be really neat. I don't think they're gonna have Darth Tenebris as one of the main characters,
Might be
like
hard to do.
as a Bith. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I do think it would be neat to have kind of like Ahsoka. We're gonna have front and center Ahsoka, Hera, characters like that.
Even Plagueis would be really hard to do.
Right.
The long head.
I still wonder, because they have not depicted Plagueis in canon at all. I wonder if he's not going to be immune anymore, if they're going to change him up.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm open to it.
I am too.
I mean...
It seems like long heads are hard to do.
Yeah. I love the Plagueis novel, but I guess I'm just preparing myself for, like, if they ever do Plagueis, I'm preparing for changes. But I don't know. There was no one in that list of 9 that really jumped out at me where I'm like, that's a droid for sure. And, you know, that did happen for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I kind of thought Kumail Nanjiani would be a fun, wacky droid sidekick. Mm-hmm. And he was instead a fun, wacky pretend Jedi sidekick.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard to figure out because, like, usually there'll be someone who's just like a huge person and you're like, oh, they'll probably be like a fighter or a bounty hunter or like an alien species that's supposed to be huge, but they all are like pretty average in size. I don't know about Daphne King because I see her as young in my mind, but right. I know she's older now. I haven't seen her in anything besides Logan, so
yeah, we both of us are the same way, where it's like, yeah, she's 11 forever, and she's gonna pop up in this show, and we'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah.
I would love to see her as, like, her and Carrie-Anne Moss. I would love to see as Sith or as Darkside leaning characters.
She's got the intensity for sure.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Amandla Stenberg and Lee Chung-jae are the two main characters of this series. So do you think they're going to be Darksiders, or do you think they will be the Jedi Master / former Padawan?
I guess I assumed it was going to be Jedi and Master former Padawan kind of relationship because they're the two, I guess, top build leading cast members. But I don't know. It could go either way, really, with the amount of people that they've presented.
Yeah, I guess I was under the impression with what they had said previously of this being a very dark side-centric story that we would be, like, our main characters would be Sith or dark side users or something. They've related the word acolyte specifically to the Sith and the dark side in interviews before. But now with that added plot details of a former Padawan rejoining their master to solve crimes, which I love that. Now I'm kind of like, oh, maybe that's the focus.
Do you think it's a former master as well? Because they don't necessarily specify that in the blurb.
I guess I thought it was a current existing Jedi Master having to team up with the Padawan that left.
Right.
I think that would be a fun dynamic of them maybe butting heads. Maybe the Padawan left and is the acolyte.
That's what I was going to say. Like, she could be a character that, was a Padawan and left for a specific reason, maybe involving the dark side.
It's fun to speculate on something that's 2 years away.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's in production. I've been psyched about the Acolyte since they announced it. just sounds so different. Sounds like another step beyond Andor, where Andor is like, yeah, we're focusing on kind of the background characters of Star Wars, but it's still in a familiar era. Now it's like, we're going to stick with like the Jedi and kind of the bigger good evil conflict, but it's in a completely new era for most people, and I'm really excited for that.
Caleb Murphy asks if we think art is inherently political, or should the more pulpy side of Star Wars keep away from that?
They're basically talking about the politics of Andor, and we have leaned pretty heavily into talking about those politics in our coverage because you have to. That's what the show is about. Is that always appropriate for Star Wars? Should it lean in and out? I mean, I think that all art is inherently political in some ways. Some are definitely more. Andor leans into it harder than Star Wars A New Hope. But Star Wars A New Hope is still very political.
Yeah. I don't think it has to be. And since we're talking about Star Wars specifically, yeah, I think most of Star Wars, like the big broad strokes of it, is inherently political. But not every fantasy sci-fi story has to be.
I guess I think that just saying political, it doesn't necessarily mean doing metaphors and parallels for the real world, but your identity gets put into anything you create, no matter what. And so I think that your identity and the beliefs you hold, that is politics of a sort. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that it's impossible sometimes to separate the creator from the creation.
Yeah, people hear the word politics and your mind automatically goes to the more broad sense of the word, but yeah, it can be interpreted in different ways.
I think what I more mean is that I create something and it's impossible for my worldview to not be a part of it, even if it's like the the silly drawings that we make for our live stream after shows, and they are art, definitely,
in its purest form.
Yeah.
On dry erase boards.
So, I think that Star Wars, to keep it there, will occasionally lean in and out. Like I said, A New Hope is very political. It's commenting on the Vietnam War. It's criticizing America. It's about President Nixon. And then later, we had Gunray running the Trade Federation. Like, I think George Lucas's movies have obviously always been political, but he was trying to deliver those messages to a younger audience. Mm-hmm. So he was more about using archetypes of good and evil, and this is kind of what fascism looks like. So when you grow up, maybe you'll be like, wait a minute, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Andor is more on the nose. And I mean, I think there's absolutely a place for that too. I've been loving Andor so much.
Yeah, something else that came up in the roundtable discussion, which will be up on the channel.
Ours will be up on Monday and Tuesday, but you can find them on Octo Radio, Triad of the Force, Pink Milk, That Gay Jedi. A lot of people have already posted theirs, I think.
Yeah, but it came up about the line between Vel and Cinta that like Cinta tells Vel that I'm like a mirror. I show you what you want to see or need to see. And I think that's a great way to sum up this show. Like, this show is showing us something that we need to see right now and need to connect to real world happenings.
Yeah. I do think that the pulpier Star Wars gets, the more it leans away from it being so directly like, look at this thing. We are criticizing capitalism, corporations, the prison system, all in one scene. Like, the way that they do that is amazing. But I think that the Young Jedi Adventures, when it comes out, is gonna be less political. Like, yeah, it's still gonna have those archetypes of good and evil.
Yes, it'll be more about growing up and the trials and tribulations of that, and everything that comes along with it.
Right. I don't think there's going to be a prison euthanasia in the Young Jedi Adventures, nor should there be.
I hope not. Mr. JD Rice asks our thoughts on the potential Indiana Jones series.
Yeah, so if you missed that, Variety, I think, put out an article that Disney is talking about doing an Indiana Jones Disney Plus series, which talking about could mean anything. Like, again, it's not a Lucasfilm official announcement. It feels like another one of those things that someone heard and now Variety is reporting on it, and Lucasfilm's like, we have not set anything in stone, and now people are going to be mad if it doesn't happen. So I guess that's the start of my answer, that I'm like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so Indy 5, is that confirmed to be Harrison Ford's last Indy movie?
I believe he has said that he is done with Indiana Jones after Indy 5. He said he was done with Han Solo after The Force Awakens as well.
But
Came back, yeah.
He's getting,
He's getting up there.
He's getting up there in age. I think it's fair to say this is probably his last Indy movie.
I think I believe him.
Which leads me to believe that they're already planning on how do we continue the legacy of Indiana Jones, and the idea of a Disney Plus show just makes sense for their angle right now.
Right. I don't really want to recast. I would give it a shot if they did. I would be more into them rebooting like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles Adventures. I forget what it was called, but something like that. I think that'd be fun.
That makes the most sense to me, to try and bring a younger generation into the world of Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Like I remember a long time ago when they were kind of first talking about the Lucasfilm Story Group, and they mentioned, of course, Star Wars, but then they also said, and our other franchises like Indiana Jones. And I was like, oh, are they going to start doing indie books and comics again? Which I never really got into them growing up. I read a few, but I was kind of like into the idea of getting to do that. I don't know. I think the young idea would be fun. I've also seen people throwing around Ke Huy Quan just taking over the mantle and just making it about, I don't know that you call him short round anymore. He might be tall round, but he's not round.
I think they should still call him short round, but everybody's like, why are we calling you that?
But after seeing him in Everything Everywhere All at Once, he knows how to handle a whip. He was using that fanny pack like a weapon. So I could see him in an action role.
I would love that.
I think that'd be really, really fun to have him come back and center around him and he's still treasure hunting or whatever.
And if we get a Harrison Ford cameo, I mean,
right,
wouldn't be the end of the world. The
story of them meeting up again, I can't remember what awards ceremony that was, but that he was like approaching Harrison Ford. I think he said he was in his green room and someone popped in and said, Harrison Ford's right outside if you want to say hi. And he was like, is he gonna remember me? Like they hadn't seen each other since 1983 or 4, and he was like, hi, and he's like, Harrison just pointed at me and went, you're short round. Like he recognized him immediately, and then there's that picture of them hugging and it's so adorable. And
I mean, he didn't remember his name.
I mean, maybe not, but
yeah,
the way Key tells the story is very heartwarming, and maybe I missed some details, but I was like tearing up reading about that. It was very sweet.
That feels like Harrison Ford seeing Daisy Ridley somewhere and saying, hey, you're that new Jedi.
You're that Rey girl. Yeah, he just points to Adam Driver like, you're my son, right?
I think so. I don't see the resemblance, but... On to YouTube questions. Matt Thornton wants to know if starships have rear view mirrors.
So the context for this question is Yaddle following Dooku to the Works District in Tales of the Jedi. And it's like, did he not know he was being followed? Did he not look behind him? And I was like, you know what? I just feel like all the traffic laws on Coruscant are absolute chaos. So I'm going to say I don't remember seeing any rear view mirrors or side view mirrors on any speeder.
Well, I assume because it's meant to be like a very futuristic technology that there are cameras instead of mirrors. So
that's true.
A lot of new cars have backup cameras and cameras that show you like a 360 view of your vehicle. Spoiled. We are so spoiled. So I assume there's something like that, but maybe not everyone has it on all the time. So like it's only on when you're backing up. I know Hilo.
What are you barking about?
He's not
He's just staring into my soul.
He's not getting enough attention.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about cameras, but that makes complete sense. I just think that Dooku was probably too focused on what he was doing. He was preoccupied. He probably didn't think anyone was following him, and why would they? Or maybe he knew, and maybe he wanted Yaddle to like see and maybe give him that chance to go back. Maybe he was unsure in that moment, and he's like, oh, maybe Yaddle can help, but then it came down to him not going that direction, so I don't know. But Coruscant just looks chaotic. I don't know how you would drive in that city. I don't know why there aren't wrecks constantly.
Yeah, it seems hard to grasp the idea of like all the levels of traffic, but we do know now that there are expressways, but who knows how those work either.
Right. Like it seems like there are definitely lanes of traffic throughout Coruscant, but then Dooku just is going off to the Works District, and was he just off-roading, for lack of a better term? Or?
We know from Attack of the Clones that the Jedi just throw caution to the wind when it comes to coming in and out of traffic.
That's true. I say the traffic looks chaotic, but my biggest anchor point for that is Anakin flying around in Attack of the Clones, and we saw that Doug yelling about these stinking Jedi. Like they probably, I bet that's why traffic is chaotic. It's the Jedi's fault. Everyone else, every other normal citizen is great.
It's like us. And like if a person on a motorcycle is like zipping through really quickly through all the lanes of an expressway, and we're like,
yeah,
oh, you. Matthew Kelly asks what we think we'll see in the final 2 episodes of Andor.
Just do a quick couple predictions, I guess. I mean, we're definitely going back to Ferrix. We're gonna see them rioting against the Empire, so we're not done with riots.
Oh yeah, the Ferrix uprising, I think, is inevitable. And something to do with Mon Mothma and maybe her daughter?
Okay, what do you think she's going to do with that? That's a good prediction.
Mon Mothma?
Uh-huh.
Or her daughter.
Will she make the introduction or not?
I don't know. Because, like, I have it in my mind that somehow the daughter does end up in an arranged marriage and she's okay with it, which is sad, but it just feels like everything in Mon Mothma's life is meant to be sad, and that's why she inevitably is like alone and off leading the rebellion.
I'm trying to think. I hope she doesn't go through with that. She needs money, and Luthen has a lot of it. So I'm kind of wondering. And Vel knows too. Vel knows that she needs money. So maybe they'll get the loan from Luthen or Vel or something.
Or a combination of the two. Because, we don't know what Vel's planning on doing when she's headed back home, but we do know she's rich.
Yeah. And I don't think that will make Mon very happy either, having to go to Luthen and getting more and more tied up with him. But I do think he's an asset, but he's been so cagey with, like, I think Mon is the only person that knows he did Aldhani. And he didn't say that, but she's like, it was you. Mm-hmm. So she's probably like, I know you have 100 million credits lying around. Can I have 400,000, please?
Yeah, pretty please.
As for other characters, B2 Emo is going to live a long and happy life. He's going to get a new battery that holds a charge better. That's my prediction. Nothing bad will happen to B2 Emo. I will say that loud and proud.
No, it can't happen. They can't do it to us.
Or I will stop watching the show.
We will riot.
If something happened to him, you do a quick reshoot, Tony Gilroy. You fix that.
Read the room. We need him.
Yeah. It would follow the pattern. Like, look at Nimic. You like Nimic? Oh, he's dead now. Hey, look at this Kino Loy guy. You didn't like him at first, but now you do. Ah, he's stuck. Like, he just keeps introducing characters and then taking them away.
He's a droid, though. Like, if he gets hurt, he can recover.
That's true, but it doesn't mean I want to see it happen.
Yeah. No. MC Lego Boy wants to know if any characters in Star Wars have been overexplored. The Skywalkers.
I think we've talked about this a little bit before. I do think that, we've had a lot of Darth Vader stories. Some of them really work, like Charles Soule's comic run. Some of them, like was it Dark Visions? I wasn't really into that comic series. That's kind of where I think it as long as there's a reason you're going into this character, then go for it again. Like, I think every comic series except for Dark Visions has surprised me with how much I enjoyed it and how much they still had to say about Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that, we may never be done exploring Darth Vader, but I still think there are chances for stories to surprise me. So I don't want to be like, I'm done with Vader. Like, no more Vader.
Right.
You can still do it, but as long as there's a good reason for it.
Yeah, and I think there's still room to explore the Skywalker, the time in which we know the Skywalker saga is, but just, Luke, Anakin / Vader, we've gotten a lot of stories of them, but there are still gaps that we could potentially fill. Another character that comes to mind is Ahsoka, and I think we're not there yet, but we're headed in the direction of over-exploring her life.
That's more I don't know that we needed the Tales of the Jedi shorts about Ahsoka. I know a lot of people love them, but I didn't feel like I learned a whole lot about her. I think I understand why she was in them for more of a business point of view, but I got so much more out of the Dooku stories.
Mm-hmm.
Where
I think we needed to see how she got back involved with someone like Bail.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good for people who haven't been reading the books and stuff to know that. So that's I understand why, but it's more just Ahsoka is in so many things. She's in the Clone Wars, and then it's she's also in Rebels. If Star Wars Resistance kept going, I wouldn't be surprised if she popped up there.
Mandalorian.
She's in the Mandalorian, and I'm very excited for the Ahsoka series, but she is someone that it's she's in a lot,
mm-hmm.
and spanning so many years, which just seems a little strange to me.
Yeah.
I will say for Luke though, I wouldn't mind having some more Luke Skywalker books. He was very heavily explored in Legends, obviously, but now I feel like it's much more of a mystery. So I'm ready for some more Luke books like Shadow of the Sith.
Yeah, Shadow of the Sith was a really good one because of the time period in which it took place. And it was great to read about him and Lando and those characters that we know pretty well already, but in a time period that we haven't explored much.
Yeah. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.